Good morning, everybody. It is the 27th of May. We are Signal Centre Talking Ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined by Steve O'Hare. Morning, Steve.
Morning, mate.
You okay?
Yeah. Celebrating the Europa League win last night.
Yep, go on the yellow submarine. Unai Emery. Whee!
Yeah, it was interesting that the sort of obviously the 22-man penalty shootout or whatever it was.
Yeah, me and my son were watching it last night. And he was just going on and on and on. He was like, Dad, are we still going to be here tomorrow watching this? I'm like, yeah, we might be.
It's funny. It reminds me of I haven't watched the penalties yet, but it reminded me of one of our sort of big games as a Sunday League side. We sort of got to the it was the sort of like the Essex Sunday FA Cup, just in Essex. So can't remember what it's called, Essex Junior Cup or something, or don't know. But it was on a Sunday, and we did exactly the same. It was like 1-1 after extra time, and we had penalties, and every single player took a penalty, and the person that missed the penalty, I was in goal doing the sort of Jersey Dudek type of. It was actually Bruce Grobbelaar did it first, didn't he? When he was sort of like
The wobbly
acting
legs.
like did the wobbly legs. I was doing that in goal. It sort of got to 4-4, and then we missed a penalty, and then I saved a penalty, and then it carried on, and everyone scored. And then it come to their best player on the pitch, took the very last penalty because he was absolutely shattered. And he was I don't know who he played for on a Saturday, but he's a sort of like semi-pro footballer. And he missed the goal. It just bobbled wide. So we went through, but it's exactly the same. But
yeah, I mean, yesterday some of these centre halves, when you watch the penalty stepping up, I was thinking, oh no, he doesn't look like he wants this. And now we're burying him in the top corner. I was just like, what's going on?
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then anyway.
Champions League. Is it Saturday, Champions League?
I think Sunday. Cam said it was Sunday.
So, is it? And then on to the Euros.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, news-wise, so there is a redoubling of efforts, according to the news this morning, to try and find the origins of COVID-19. So that's been talked about in the Wall Street Journal overnight. In terms of corporate side of things, Shell has pledged to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 20% within a decade and to be net zero before 2050. And that's not good enough, according to the Hague court, which ordered the oil producer to slash emissions by 45% by 2030. So, cracking down on these companies by the looks of things. In terms of Nvidia, they had results out yesterday. The largest chip maker in the US by market value gave a bullish forecast on the demand for chips used in computers and data centers. In terms of other stock news, we've seen the Reddit crowd pile back into GameStop and AMC. Both jumped quite considerably yesterday. So maybe another round of that could be upon us. In terms of the UK, we had Dominic Cummings slamming Boris Johnson. All looks pretty embarrassing from what I can see, the whole thing. Everybody's not exactly covering themselves in glory. But on the travel front, we're hoping that a few of the holiday islands could be added to the green list, which would mean that us Brits could get away for some much needed sun potentially. Other than that, there's not really a lot going on. And in terms of what's moving the markets, I don't know, Steve, if you want to take over first and run through some charts or anything you found of interest today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll sort of I'll start with commodities and then sort of like come on to the indices. I'm a bit sort of annoyed, fuming about the indices that sort of we seem to be getting the sort of like the negative move now. It's too late for the gun to head.
You didn't get stopped out though, did you, yesterday?
No. It sort of ended up in profit, but it's like, it just didn't get that follow through. So, people are trying to hold on to this idea that things are looking sort of like still positive for the indices, but I don't know. I think it's like the penalty situation last night. People are getting bored with it. So, I'll jump into commodities first. on
Where'd that
the,
come from?
I picked it up from the side. You like that?
I like that. Yeah.
There's talking indices, talking commodities, talking FX. We haven't used them, have we?
No.
Come to head, boom. So and then day ahead. So let's talk commodities first.
Okay.
Crude oil. There's a few things going on. From a technical perspective, obviously we're still fighting this resistance on the sort of like weekly chart, and potentially I still think we have a potential to get above this. We've got this impulsive move from the lows last year. So from a Fibonacci perspective, from an Elliott wave perspective, we sort of still maybe are looking for the we're in the fourth corrective wave, maybe looking for the fifth leg higher. Still a bit of a way to play out. I mean, it is an ABC correction, so is that done? If it was, I think we'd have had the sell-off already. Resistance levels coming in at around about the 66.50, just above their level, and then 67.80 from the 8th of March reversal. So we've had a positive week, and then we've had the sort of stalling, the doji, the indecisive candles. And this is, again, if we look at a really short-term chart, maybe a sort of impulsive move higher, looking for the fifth wave now of that. And again, I think maybe the resistance could cap it initially. So a little bit of sideways thing going on, but I think if we do get a spike, we'll find tough resistance there. On the
Steve, your crack is a bit dark.
Is it? I don't know what it is. It must be getting some sort of interference from somewhere. If it carries on, then you just take over, Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
So 1913 is the resistance, and stall there, reverse down, and we've been down to the 1890 level, but bounce from there and sort of hanging around this psychological $1,900 level. I'm bullish, and I still think we have more.
Steve, I might have to do FX.
Yeah,
have a play around, see if you can sort it. Okay, so dollar index. First up, so we're trading within this channel. Yesterday we saw quite an impressive move to the upside. Fairly big engulfing-ish type candle. It's not in the strictest sense an engulfing candle, but clearly you can see there was a lot of buying that went on yesterday to push this up, and continues to hold this support level here, which is an 88.6% fib level from these lows to these highs up here. And also you can see this candle here from the 25th of February acted as a nice bit of support as well. So the key thing for me today really is whether or not we can break out of this channel. It's been quite a narrow channel, quite a steep decline to the downside. So if we do get a break up, then I think that could lead to a reasonable corrective move to the upside in dollar index. So I'd maybe be looking for it to take out that kind of level there, which is at 90.28. Giving a bit back this morning. So whether or not we can break on from here remains to be seen. But quite interesting nonetheless. And I think that there would be, as I say, a reasonable move to the upside if this were to break. I've got a 10-period exponential moving average on here as well, which is this blue line. I often like to see decent breaks above this level to sort of confirm a shift in momentum. Doesn't always work, of course, but we saw obviously a big move to the upside here in a break above that 10-period moving average, but it never really amounted to anything. We saw one there as well. So on a couple of occasions it hasn't worked, having also hit previous fib levels, but maybe this one will be different. And certainly if you get a break of the channel at the same time, then you've got a couple of signals there that may lead to a run higher in the dollar index. And of course that'll have a knock-on effect on pretty much everything else in terms of currencies. This is the euro dollar chart. So again, the reverse of what we're seeing on the dollar index. We're trading within this channel, but in this instance we're moving up because obviously euro is the front pair versus the dollar. Again, this kind of engulfing candle yesterday, there wasn't a close below the 10-period moving average, and we still remain within this bullish channel. So it may be a case of buying dips, but in terms of the resistance levels, clearly we've faced some resistance around this red line here, which is at 122.43, which is from this high that was posted back on the 25th of February. So is the upside quite limited here? If you are buying dips down to the lower end of this channel, you're probably only going to be targeting moves back up to these highs here, which were at 122.65. So maybe not much in it for you as a day trader, unless of course you're going to target this move up here towards 123.50. So again, got quite a keen eye on this channel, and just sort of speculating here. Is this maybe a head and shoulders top that's forming on euro dollar? It is very early to call it because it needs to do a hell of a lot of work to complete this pattern. It needs to be down here somewhere, maybe even as low as 117.06 to break that level to confirm it. And if that were to play out, then you'd be looking at a measured move down to 1.1056. So some really speculative targets there, but if you are going to do it, or do fancy that setup from a risk reward perspective, selling here with a stop above the potential head, which would invalidate this potential setup, and targeting a move down here, you're looking at just below 7-1 from a risk reward ratio. So if you are looking to set some speculative shorts on euro dollar, or think there's going to be some bullishness in the dollar index, then that is maybe something to take a look at. In terms of other currencies, let's look at cable. This continues to be rejected at these resistance levels at 142.41. We are seeing a bit of a close below the 10-period moving average based on yesterday's daily candle. If we can see a close again below the low of yesterday's close, then that may trigger a corrective move to the downside. And in terms of what I'd be targeting, I think it would be these support levels down here, so 136.70, and that would be a decent-ish correction, probably to allow some fresh buying to take place, maybe within this sort of trend line that has taken shape. Going by those ones, because there's plenty of lines and points to connect to make that a viable trend line. You could go by the low that was posted in March, but that just sort of skews things a little bit. So not as many connected points on that. So keeping an eye on there. Again, dollar index is the key in this. If the dollar index gains some strength, then you'd like to think that this is going to lead to a corrective move to the downside. So it's all looking quite nicely poised at the moment. If we look at some of the other dollar pairs, just to sort of get a bit of a clue on what's happening, this is dollar CAD. I mean, CAD's been pretty strong. Dollar's obviously been very weak, and bring that all together, you've got a real big downtrend wedge formation that's taken shape here. If we look at the price action over the last couple of sessions or so, yesterday we posted quite an interesting move to the upside. We've closed above the 10-period moving average for the first time since the 20th of April. Will that lead to a correction higher? Quite possibly. There'll be a shift in momentum. I think I'd like to see it take out this level here at 121.43 before I got excited about a corrective move to the upside. In terms of targets from there, I guess it would be fairly limited, targeting the upper end of this wedge pattern. And I think you can't really get too excited on this until you break that wedge. And if you do, then that could lead to a fairly substantial corrective move higher, I think, on this pair. So I'd be watching this with some interest. If we do break above this wedge pattern, in terms of a first target, maybe the 38.2% fib level or the 50% level, which is up here at 130.27 to 133.40. Still fan of dollar yen. Yen has been very weak, and if you are interested in having a look at the dollar on the long side, then I would be playing this one. I think it's closed above the 10-period moving average yesterday. It's holding this trend line. If it can break above the resistance levels here at 109.37, then it opens up for a further move to 110.96, and then potentially towards these resistance levels up here, with the highest one I've got on my chart at 112.22. So again, it's all based on what's going on with this and whether or not it's going to break this channel. If it does, then I think we get a corrective move to the upside. Don't get me wrong, the overall view and bias remains negative on dollar index. There is no sign of the downtrend stopping, but there is maybe room for a corrective move to the upside in the short term. That wraps up for me. Steve, let's hope your mic's back on and you can run us through some charts.
Cheers, Joe. Yeah, I think, is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went a bit Dalek-y as well, but not obviously not as bad as me. Yeah, just looking at try and get it out of the way before the Daleks appear again. Yesterday's price action in gold was a little bit negative. It's a shooting star candle. However, this morning we've seemed to have recovered them, this sort of like and back above where we closed or where we even opened yesterday and the close from the previous day. So this is looking mildly positive and above 1890, which is the level we've just reacted from. I'm positive on gold above there. It does feel like it's a little bit early for this this sort of like rally to continue, but maybe that's when it does catch us out a little bit. Silver, not having as much of a good time as gold. It's we hit a high on the 18th of May at 28.55. We're still about 75-80 cents away from that. So really need to see silver catch up with gold. On the copper side of things, we've had the corrective sell-off and it seems to have formed a little bit of a base now around about the well, just above the 445 level, and we're pushing higher, 455 trading, and I think if we get back above 460, that looks really positive as well for copper. So moving on to the indices. Fuming, mate, fuming. Look at the DAX really first, and this is the sort of gun-to-head trade idea from yesterday. Obviously, short-term on an hourly chart had really tight stop. It's flirted with it slightly after we set it, but we've really had a break this morning. We've broken below the 15,400 level, which is negative, and we've pushed down to 15,350, reacted higher from there back to the 15,000 and above the 15,400 level. So a little bit of a recovery, but I still feel overall that indices are a little bit toppy around these levels. The hanging man candles from the weekly chart that we highlighted at the start of the week, we're now forming a bit of a shooting star on there. With Thursday, we've got another day to go. So if this negative price action or these levels, we remain here for the next sort of 24 hours and just past that, then that for me will be confirmation. We're going to see a bit of a downturn. The US, similar sort of hanging men candles on the Dow Jones. Nasdaq is a little bit different. It's sort of that. This was a hanging man candle, and this was, so we had two, but last week's was a bit of an indecision candle where we opened and closed at the same level, and we had a retest of the previous week's low, and this has been followed by positive price action. So the tech sector outperformed this week. S&P's positive on the week so far, but only just. So potential for a real test of that over sort of Aussie 200 expanding wedge formation, very difficult formations to trade, but it has the hanging man candles as well. China 50 has obviously outperformed this week. It's broken above the 17,775 resistance line, this channel that was forming, and I was talking about a real potential for a bearish flag break lower, and that formation has failed. However, we still have the potential for an ABC correction, which will look something like this. In my eyes, so the really the level of resistance, I think, for the China 50 comes in around about just above 19,000, 19,105. I think that could cap this move, and then we get a sort of measured move target will be along the lines of this, which will target the 14,500 level. Nice round number. Hang Seng also recovering along with China, but facing resistance here. 29,160 is a previous swing high, and that's in gains at the moment, only just. And the Nikkei, not really a lot going on in Nikkei this week, just a little bit of indecision that we see there. Quick look at cryptocurrencies. We're talking crypto now. Let's have a little, where is it? There it is. Talking cryptos. Bitcoin, for me, there's a potential of a head and shoulders formation, still a little bit of a way to go to really sort of see if that's going to play out. So I'm really focused on the short-term charts. And if I bring my cloud into there, we're below, still hanging on to this resistance on the Ichimoku cloud. Let me just get rid of this. So yeah, it's a little bit of a triangle formation we're forming. Something like that. So really wait to see where it breaks. As I said, 43,000 for me is a we formed a bit of a base. If we can't get above 43,000, it opens up a potential move below 30,000. My next target below there would be 20,000, the swing high we had in place for a long time. Yeah, GameStop. You just mentioned GameStop. Nice little move up. Incredible what's still going. It's still sort of like going on. That looks pretty positive now after breaking above the resistance and the gap open. If it does sort of fill that gap, which I'm sure there's plenty of volatility out there, it potentially could, may be worth a little buy on the long side. That's about it, mate. I think we're covered on that.
Well done, mate. Okay, gun to the head trades from yesterday then. So let's have a look. So as you mentioned on DAX, you were unlucky because it has sold off this evening. This morning. You did make 0.59R, 35.5 ticks on that. I was stopped out on Euro Sterling. So all in all, we lost a bit of money yesterday, but I'm hopeful we can put that right today. I am going to go first, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to buy dollar yen. I keep banging on it as being my sort of favourite pair for playing dollar index at the moment on the long side. This is the hourly chart. We had a decent corrective move to the downside. We've broken out of that yesterday in yesterday's trade, and we sort of rounded off a little bit for a retest of this breakout level. So for me, looks to be an opportunity to get long. I'm going to buy it now at 109.12. I'm going to target a move to 109.58. So just looking for 47 ticks on the upside, which is wholly achievable, I think. And in terms of the stop, I mean, obviously I could tighten this right up and put it below this support level, but given how markets are at the minute, and from a technical perspective, not doing it as you'd expect, so I'm going to give it a little bit of room of 17 ticks at 108.94. And therefore looking for 2.8R on that one today. So that is my trade of the day. What you got, Steve?
I'm going to stick with my basically I'm going to stick with my DAX bearish outlook. Going to stick with it sort of like around the original target as well. It's a little bit lower. I'm going to still bang on about this 10 to 1 shot. So my target is this swing low. So yeah, it's trading around 15,415-ish. Going to get short there, stop at 15,475, and the target is 14,815. Yeah, why not?
Well, definitely why not? DAX, if there is to be a sell-off, that's the one that's just going to slide, and it could easily do that.
Yeah, perfect.
Good luck. Okay, so day ahead, in terms of economic data that's due out today, we have at 1:30 p.m. US durable goods, initial jobless claims, and the Q1 second estimate for GDP. So a number of data points out there at 1:30. So be aware and be ready for those numbers when they drop. At 3 p.m. we've got US pending home sales. Sales expected to rise 2% month on month. Again, keep an eye on anything linked to the US. And then finally at 7 p.m. we have the US President's full year 2022 budget, and they'll be focused on stimulus and infrastructure spending. So plenty going on from a macro point of view today, which could impact your trading. So, and also we actually have some earnings today. I thought earnings were sort of all but done, but we've got Gap, Dell, Salesforce, Costco, HP, and Best Buy. So it's a pretty busy day on the corporate front as well.
Coolio.
Okay, let's wrap up there, Steve, and we'll be back tomorrow morning to wrap up the week and the trading month. And until then, trade safe, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.